what you said, yeah. You would say you can do better, no, no, won't let him, we go forever and ever, yeah. I go and create the pressure, yeah. You would say you can do better, you would say you can do better, yeah, yeah. Ooh, we go forever and ever, we go forever and ever.
Welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Reardon, and I'm a mindset coach, and I'm going to be talking about mindset today. So today is going to be a special live edition to Coaching in Session. It's not going to be part of the regular podcast. It's just going to be one of those exclusives that you find out in the wild, because we have been piling up all of the issues in society, and every single day it's a little bit more. It's a little bit something more, and it's causing a lot of fear. It's causing a lot of anxiety. It's causing a lot of people to not know what they should believe, or who should they trust, or what rights do they have, because it's easy for us to point the finger, to put the blame somewhere else, to make excuses, but it's difficult to take ownership. And I'm not going to advocate for these people, but I do want to correlate what's going on in their mind, in their life, and then how does that correlate to our mindset? Because if we're going to be in a rough place in our life, then we need to figure out, well, what's truly going on. So I have a few articles that we're just going to be breezing through. And before we do that, I want to let anyone know who's watching this episode, if you're going to join in live, you're going to be in for a surprise if we get to a spot that you don't necessarily like or favor. But this is going to be a unpolitically correct, or not a politically correct episode. This is not an official episode of Coaching in Session. This is an unofficial episode of Coaching in Session. So what I'm talking about today is going to be the hard truth. And it's going to be difficult for many people to understand what's going on, because they have to combat their conscious and their subconscious mind. And a lot of people don't want to face the truth. They don't want to be facing reality. I was talking to a gentleman the other day, and he was going on about what he wanted to do in his life. And I was listening to him, and I told him the reason why he can't do something, or he's not able to do it, is because he was instilling fear into his life. And I said, you have fear. You have a fear, and there's nothing wrong with it. He goes, no, I'm not afraid. But it was fear. So I think sometimes we give ourselves that fear. We give ourselves that idea that stops us from moving forward, and we give ourselves a popular opinion or belief or whatever trending, and we go with it, but we don't necessarily look at the ramifications for the cause and effect of it. So there's been a lot of things going on in the news, a lot of things going on in the world, and this is just the tippy top. This is going to be dealing with a lot of the Western civilization more so than people around the world. So if you're international, this might not affect you, but maybe something's going on in your country that's similar. So let's get into some of the articles. So one of the first things I want to talk about is our First Amendment right as Americans. So our First Amendment right as Americans is going to be talking about our freedom of speech. So I'm able to come on here and talk to you about whatever I want. Now, be it if I'm on a social media platforms, there's going to be rules and regulations. For example, on YouTube, you're not going to want to talk about hate or violence or hurting someone. We don't want to promote that, right? Coaching in Session does not promote hate or does not promote violence, but we do have to promote freedom in the sense of following the Constitution. Now, our First Amendment right protects our freedom of speech. And as you can see, we have an article here of Alex Jones. He was, I guess, found guilty for defamation and talking about the Sandy Hook family, saying that it never happened. Now, I'm from Connecticut. I actually remember the day of Sandy Hook. I was I was in my last day of my student teaching career, and I was in a classroom. It could have been my school. I was 25 miles away from Newtown, so it easily could have been my school, but it wasn't. So I'm fortunate for that. But for a man to say the news, and he's operating off of what he knows. So, for example, there was a lot of conversation at the lunch break on that day, and we were talking about different scenarios, or like, is this true? They're talking about other shooters, and there might be someone else out there. There's a lot of concern, a lot of fear, and a lot of parents were worried in Connecticut. And so it caused a lot of confusion. It caused a lot of misinformation. A lot of people were trying to figure out, well, what is the truth here? Well, the truth is, no one knew what was actually going on. But we had to give ourselves an idea to be prepared, similar to how if you go hiking, you might have a can of bear mace. Maybe if you live in a state that allows you to carry a firearm when you're going into the national forest, and of course, maybe having a firearm to protect you if a grizzly bear or something comes and attacks you. That is your right to protect yourself. And I think what was happening in Connecticut at this time was a lot of people were trying to protect themselves, were trying to protect them, was trying to protect their families, and it was causing a lot of confusion in the news. So what Alex did was he was just recording the news as it was. So he was getting resources from your CNN, your Fox News, and things like that, and he was reporting it. He might have added his own opinion, and of course, if you add your own opinion, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to do harm. Because I believe something, and of course, in a situation like this, it can cause a lot of confusion and hysteria because it's almost a situation of disbelief. 20 children, 6 adults gone because of someone who had a mental disorder. And it's difficult to fathom that because that could have been your kid, that could have been your family, that could have been your life. But coincidentally, if you're listening to this, most likely you might not have been directly affected by that. But this man made a mistake and apparently affected the lives of 26 individual families. So those families have to deal with it and they are seeking compensation. Remington Arms had to pay 72 or 73 million dollars just because the shooter used their firearm. So if I use a Honda or I use a Toyota or I use a Camry or that's Toyota, if I use a GMC to cause harm, inflict pain onto a group of people, for example, I drive into a crowd of people, does the car company have to pay reparations because I used their vehicle? No. But in the cases that are coming up now, if you are liable, you are going to be brought to the law to the fullest capacity. And that's what's happening. A lot of people are saying that he's done wrong and he is basically the bane of existence when it comes to these families. But in reality, that's not the truth. A lot of people, I think, when they look at Alex, they see all of his shenanigans and all of his conspiracy theories and talks and I guess wild accusations for country and economy. And a lot of people are in the mindset of disbelief. I can't believe this, so I'm going to say this is wrong because it's easy to be in disbelief when something is not going your way. So this man is going to be prosecuted to the fullest capacity of the United States civil system. But in reality, what's really happening is that many people are seeing him for only the bad. He has done some great things, he has a family, but they don't care about that. They only care about what they want to accomplish, right? To crush the First Amendment. And we can even see that in the case with Kanye West. So Kanye West just came out and he was talking about White Lives Matter. And he had a shirt, White Lives Matter, and this caused a whole conversation. He talked about the George Floyd killing, and he went on to talk about how George Floyd's family didn't care about him. Then he talks about Jewish, so now he's a Semitic. I mean, now he's being labeled that he's having some type of mental disorder or he's bipolar. Now, is he bipolar? Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not his doctor. But what I can say is that he has a belief, his First Amendment right, his belief to think what he wants. Just how you have your right to think what you want, to do what you want, why does Kanye West not have the right to think or do what he wants? If it be legal, though. How about Alex Jones to say what he sees, the news? The news, I mean, we can look at Fox News, CNN, BBC, ABC, NBC, right? They have been wrong on several occasions. but you don't see them paying any reparations to families, or if they said something that hurts someone, they might say maybe a sorry or they might fire the person, but there's no monetary uh, exchange that is happening. Why is there no monetary exchange happening with them, but it's happening with individuals who are practicing their First Amendment right? And the reason being is that when we look at the mindset of it, is that when we attack these individuals like Alex Jones, Kanye West, we are going to be looking at many people not wanting to allow their voice to be heard. Because it's easy for me to say, all right, I'm not going to say anything because if I'm wrong, I'm going to be liable for what I said. But here in America, we are not living in a country where if you say something wrong, you're going to be liable because there's going to be people who are going to be very soft. So you might say, "Excuse me, can you move your car?" Oh, like they're all offended. Or if you have kids and they're running around and they accidentally run in front of someone and the person had to stop for a second. I've seen it happen. And what that brings is brings in a sense of self entitlement, and what that brings is a mindset of my life matters but not yours. So if it's not in my belief or my opinion, then your belief is not appropriate for me. So I'm going to not be a part of it. And what happens with popular belief and trending culture is that we look at people who are the minority, the people who are choosing to allow themselves to be not politically correct or to be open or to open themselves up to be wrong. And one of the biggest issues I have with my clients is that they're afraid to fail. Why are you afraid to fail? Failure is just a step to success. Many people are like, I don't want to try it. I don't want to do this because you have that fear. When in reality, you don't have to have that fear hold you down. You can choose to have whatever life you want, but the problem is many people choose not to have it. They choose to be complacent. They choose to be quiet. They choose to be still. And that's the mindset that we are having. So we take that First Amendment right away. We are showing exactly what type of mindset we are looking for, the quiet type of mindset, the slave mentality type of mindset. Do as you're told, not what you think. And then, as long as you're following popular belief, then you're not going to have any issues. But what is popular belief, right? Popular belief might be saying that, oh, you have to get some type of medication. CDC just came out to saying that they're going to probably be making it mandatory for children to have some type of vaccine as a requirement to get into their schools. So that means if the parents who are against this type of shot, now they have to have their kids against this type of shot. So what is that going to do is that these kids are not going to be allowed to go to school. Now, there is going to be a way around that. I believe that any student who doesn't want to get the flu shot or any similar type of shot, they can sign a waiver. Now, it's going to be depending on your state. Some states might say that you're not allowed to sign a waiver for it and you have to have them, um, you know, immune to whatever it is, the shot is does. We are going to be in a tough situation, especially when states like California, New York, Connecticut say that you can't go to school unless you have these type of shots. And if families are against those shots, what is that going to do to the family? Well, maybe some of those families are not going to want to be living in the state anymore. And those states are going to start to deteriorate. So there's a reason why there's a mass exodus of California. Everyone is leaving from California. And if you go to YouTube and you type in LA homeless issue, you will see the tent cities that are popping up there or that have been there in LA and California. Those cities are are there because of the way that that state has been running. All right. It has become uh, an area where it's almost impossible to make it on a regular salary because the cost of living is so high. So these men and women who go out there, maybe they have a dream, maybe they're inspiring actors, but they don't make it. So they gave up everything just to be there. And now they're on the streets. Some of them become addicted to drugs and alcohol because that's an escape. I don't want to pay attention to reality anymore. So there's going to be a lot of issues happening there because now if kids are not getting their developmental needs addressed and met, what is that going to be in the future? And I always talk about this on the podcast where it's like we need to figure out what we're doing. And I think I have a quote here, right here. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And that is so close to the truth because we don't have to allow our children to be raised broken, to be educated broken, but yet we do. We limit them, we take away their imagination when they're in schools, we quiet their voice, we mute them in the sense of being silent. Looking again at the First Amendment right, they have the right to be themselves, to to learn. Yet we do it in a way that is going to shun their imagination, to shun their growth and their gift. It's a lot of fixing that I have to do. And I saw that when I was a teacher, and that's why it was one of the reasons I left teaching, was because I saw the cause and effect of teaching. And we need to make sure that we're giving our kids the best life that we can. In reality, we're showing them things that might not be conducive to that best life. Here, for example, there's a drag queen. Uh, it's a drag queen friendly event where kids can be allowed. And guess what? There's a girl here, right here. Her face is blurred, of course, because that's what they did, and they don't want the girl to be on the news. But if you look for the video, her face is actually there, so you can actually find the unedited video of that girl watching this man do a strip tease in the middle of a group of people, and everyone's just laughing. And these said men can go into women's bathrooms with your daughter or your wife or your whoever, right? That there has to be a line. There has to be something wrong with that. But again, this is mindset. Oh, I can pretend to be a man or I could pretend to be a girl and it's going to be perfectly fine. I identify as this. These are my pronouns. This is not uh, an opinion based thing. This is a mental disorder. We are allowing these people to create an impact on our children's lives. If they want to do it in their own life, that's perfectly fine. I'm not against someone living their life the way they want to live. I'm against people trying to instill their beliefs into other people. Because if I'm trying to say that this is the only way you need to be your way to live, what does that do? Right? That's going to create a bias. You have to do what I say or what I want, otherwise, we can't be cordial. And mindset is talking about all of that. And we need to figure out exactly what is going on. Because what is really going on is that we are allowing our country, our citizens, to be unheard in the sense of I'm going to only allow what is popular, what is trending, and anything else we are going to shun it. We're going to make everyone else pay if they have a different belief than us. Alex Jones has to pay over $1 billion. Kanye West just got hit with a lawsuit from the George Floyd uh, family members, 250 million, I think, or something along those lines. If you say something wrong or you have a different belief in someone, you're going to hurt someone's feelings. That's a weak mindset. Our country, we have a bunch of weak individuals, and I have talked about it on the podcast, and I'm going to continue to talk about it on the podcast, and I have episodes coming up going to be talking about the idea of having a strong mindset and a weak mindset and how our society is filled with weak men. Society filled with weak men is going to be a weak society in the end because if men are going to be that foundation to infrastructure, to the economy, not saying that women can't do it also, but but the last time I checked, I don't see any woman out there laying cement or repairing tar. I'm just saying there's a difference in what we are going to allow ourselves to do. You can either have a very plus job or you can have a manual labor job. My father was my father, for example, was a manual laborer. My mom wasn't. My mom's a nurse. Not saying that her job is any less significant than his, but we have to look at what makes the country run. Roads, food in the grocery store, police. We have to understand that if we give up our rights, starting from our First Amendment and then going up from there, if we don't fight for what we believe in and what we should be fighting in, imagine what we're going to lose and imagine where we're going to be in 5 years. And it's not looking good. So we need to make sure we wake up. We need to give ourselves a mindset that's going to make it clear that putting off the blame on someone, making excuses, allowing someone to have some type of mental disorder to believe that there's someone that they're not, is not helpful. So we need to wake them up, not coax them along saying, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're doing well. There's no more baby talk. We need to show people this is how it needs to be. Because if we're going to allow these people to influence our kids, to influence the workforce, to influence the country, we are going to be in we're going to be in one of the worst cases possible. But there's a better option. We just need to wake up. We need to stop allowing popular beliefs, what's trending, to show us what's true. So, of course, what we do here on Coaching in Session is we bring in other coaches that talk about the work they do, and you're going to find a coach that's going to be resonating with you, maybe someone who has the same beliefs as you. But typically, the coaches are going to be real. They're going to see if you're delusional or if they're going to see if you are perfectly spot on. Now, if you are in a state of you think everything is right or you want to give yourself a certain pronoun, I was watching a video, a girl wanted to be called they, them, or a clown face. Okay, why would you want to be called clown face, number one? But that's a tangent. But either way, we want to make sure we're in the right mindset for success, for growth, and to prosper. So if you're not in that mindset, you need to figure out how to get there. My name is Michael Reardon. I'm a mindset coach. You can always email me if you have any questions. Go to my YouTube channel, my website, and you can see what we're about here at Reverend Concepts. And I will see everyone for the regular episode of Coaching in Session in just a couple hours. All right, everyone, take care.